Living in communist Hungary wasn't easy, but for Judit Polgar, it wasn't just difficult, it was designed. Her father set out to prove that genius could be engineered.
Women were not allowed to play in male tournaments.
The all-new Netflix documentary Queen of Chess takes us through the super successful but super experimental childhood of Judit Polgar.
12-year-old Hungarian schoolgirl Judit Polgar has won a major international chess tournament.
No school, no extracurriculars, just chess. But why? In communist Hungary, the government believed it knew how children should think. Laszlo Polgar set out to prove it didn't. While the state engineered conformity, Polgar engineered independence, raising daughters trained not just to win at chess, but to think beyond the oppressive system. In the 1980s, chess in Eastern Europe wasn't a pastime. It was a proving ground. Quiet rooms, people thinking, clocks ticking like detonators. Every move felt political. The state funded it. The newspapers glorified it. Champions like Garry Kasparov became symbols of intellectual dominance. In Hungary, chess tables filled parks and basements and schoolrooms. It was everywhere. So when a 6-year-old girl walked into a neighborhood tournament in Budapest and won, it wasn't just cute. It was like an earthquake. The documentary Queen of Chess doesn't just celebrate Judith's victories, it digs into her father's radical experiment, the belief that genius could be engineered. Laszlo Polgar didn't wait for talent to reveal itself. He built it. The apartment walls were covered in chess problems, thousands of them. End games drilled until they were muscle memory, openings memorized not as moves but as ideas. The girls studied classic games for hours a day, pattern recognition, tactical puzzles, blindfold visualization. They weren't just playing, they were deconstructing the logic of the board. By the time Judit was a teenager, she had logged more serious study than most grandmasters twice her age, so when she finally sat across from Kasparov, she wasn't a prodigy anymore. She was prepared. Laszlo Polgar didn't raise his daughters just to participate. He raised them to invade the highest levels of the game. In a system that valued conformity, he chose obsession. Years of practice. Years of making his daughters into chess soldiers. And now the experiment stood across from the establishment. Judit Polgar versus Garry Kasparov, the world champion. This wasn't supposed to happen. A girl engineered outside the system, challenging the symbol of it. You have to realize at the time just how divisive this whole situation was. And when the pressure peaked, when the position turned dangerous, the moment came. A touch, a release, a rule bent. And suddenly, the match wasn't just about chess anymore. Across the board sits Garry Kasparov, the most dominant mind in chess, a man who built his legend on precision, on rules, on the sanctity of the game. And across from him, a teenager, a girl who wasn't supposed to be here, the experiment, the outsider, the one who trained in a Budapest apartment to challenge giants. And then this happens. A hand reaches, a piece is touched, then released. In chess, that's law. You move it. But he pauses. He thinks. And then he takes it back. In that split second, it's not just a rule being broken. It's like gravity shifting. Because when the world champion bends the rule against a 17-year-old challenger, it isn't small. It isn't technical. It's power. Reminding youth who's in control. And she doesn't protest. Not immediately, because imagine the weight of that moment. The cameras, the crowd, the legend across from you. That silence, that's intimidation. That's hierarchy. And suddenly this isn't just about chess. It's about whether the system she fought her whole life to enter was ever going to play fair. Put yourself in her chair. 17 years old, across from Garry Kasparov. You've trained your entire life for this, Every puzzle, every end game. You've sacrificed hours with friends and replaced them with hours of studying. And in the biggest moment so far, the rule bends? Now put yourself in her father's shoes. He built this from scratch. I mean, this was a real experiment that actually went right. I mean, imagine he's successful, fighting a system that he hated. He didn't want his daughters to be ordinary. He had to endure looks, criticism, isolation. I mean, it was not the communist thing to do to homeschool your children and teach them chess. But the experiment actually worked. I mean, this thing worked. She's there. She's at the top. Not in a women's side event, not protected anymore. She's actually at the summit. And then the summit shifts. I mean, what does that do to you? Pride colliding with fury and anger. Validation met with betrayal? Judit was angry. She went over to him later in the hotel and asked him, "How could you do this to me?" And the documentary does focus on this, but I don't think they focus on her father's anger enough. I keep thinking about him. The man who turned his home into a training ground, who raised chess players like soldiers of logic, to see the system he challenged protect itself in the end. That's not just a bad move. It must have been like a volcano of emotions about to erupt. I feel bad for him. And I mean, it's important to remember that, yeah, it is a little weird to have your children be part of an experiment, but it's not like they hated chess. I mean, sure, there might be some pent-up feelings about, sure, like we did sacrifice time with our friends, and Judit, apparently more than the other two, perhaps, but, I mean, they didn't hate chess. It wasn't like it was like the actual abuse that it was called in media, you know, and by people in their lives as well. So this wasn't like, oh, well, I lost, and now it's okay. I wasn't really that into it anyway. No, the experiment actually worked, whether you like it or not, whether they liked it or not, and now she was actually at the top and she was robbed of it. It's really weird to think about. It's a phenomenon that doesn't get talked about enough. So listen, do me a favor and subscribe. I do recommend watching the Netflix documentary, Queen of Chess. That's what we've been talking about. And what I just told you about was the key takeaway that I just couldn't stop thinking about for about 24 hours after watching this thing. So I would have to recommend it. It does make you think. And it does go deeper than I went in the video, of course. This is a short video. We do also do long-form pods on Spotify. Search the New Media Review Weekly. You've been watching the New Media Review Weekly. I'm Joe. I hope you enjoyed it. And subscribe for more content like this.